Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz trumpeter and composer Rich Willey on the 2026 album Laid Back Volume 1. He returns to the show to talk about his move from North Carolina to West Virginia, making new music, life in 2026 America, and so much more. On this new project, he combines jazz, reggae, and real-world music influences with sophisticated big band arrangements. As a result, he creates a melodic, uplifting album that balances accessibility with musical depth, featuring the great trumpeter John Swana on the EVI, the electronic valve instrument, and a host of others. We get into the studio and beyond during this interview. Enjoy this conversation.
Rich, thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I'm looking forward to getting that back into Laid Back Volume 1 and what's been going on, so I appreciate it.
Well, I think the interview the other day went so well because I didn't bother to wait for your questions. I just started talking.
No, and that's great. And if you want to do that again, we'll do it.
Yeah, I would like to talk more about the recording session.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So before we get into the recording session, I know you've gone through a big move, so I kind of want to encapsulate what we were talking about before,
okay,
where you've moved to. So let's get an idea now. Where are you located right now?
I've just gotten a new place in West Virginia, Kearneysville, right near Charlestown, West Virginia, very close to West Virginia, very close to Winchester, Virginia. And I moved up here after, it started in Hurricane Helene, where I was staying in Asheville, got completely submerged. In fact, the building right next to me got washed into the Swananoa River. It sort of blocked me, but we were it was over the roof. I had been evacuated the morning before, in the morning, bright and early. I'm glad I was awake. But, when I came back, basically everything that was, like books and electronics, everything was destroyed. So I was able to salvage my horns. And I started a new life across the state in North Carolina, thinking that I was going to get work in some of the towns where I had worked a lot, Charlotte, Raleigh, Statesville, Hickory. I'm probably leaving things out. But, so last year, 2025 was sort of floundered, really. I was playing a lot of tuba. I was actually getting called to go back to Asheville, which I was doing. But, I think I know what PTSD is like, because it's hard for me to go to Asheville after I saw the destruction and, destruction up close. One of my friends, he died. His house was washed down the damn mountain. And right in the area where I was, they were pulling dead people out of trees. A lot of the homeless population died that day. So, Asheville, anyway. So a buddy of mine in the D.C. area said, why don't you come on up here, man? We'll get you in circulation. So I have played a few gigs up here, and I have a couple more scheduled. So, moving as a local musician is not a good idea because, I was fairly established in Asheville. I was working very much for a lot of years. And so now I'm just focusing on writing music and getting it recorded. I'm 70 years old now. I decided, if I don't even work another gig, I'm still happy. All I have to do is keep writing music and keep organizing a recording session every year, and then spend the rest of the year getting it, produced and issued. So we did enough for 2 albums back in January. Volume 1 came out at the end of May, Laid Back Volume 1, and Laid Back Volume 2 will come out in November. So it's all the same guys. John Swana is the only guy I handpicked, old Philadelphia buddy. I've known him since the mid-'80s. John he's absolute genius. The people who just dismiss what he does because he plays a synthesizer, man, it's not a synthesizer. You try to play that damn thing. I'm a student. Actually, I'm a student of John Swana, trying to learn how to play the EV, the electronic valve instrument. It is absolutely a legitimate instrument. He does stuff on that's basically impossible. So if they would listen past they think it's a synthesizer. No, man, it's not an EWI. which the saxophone version is the EV, which I believe was made first by Niall Steiner in the early 70s. But anyway, so yeah, John Swana. Kerry Deadman was my college roommate. He's a well-established trumpet player in Chicago. Yeah, he was my roommate at North Texas State back in the late 70s, 78, 79, somewhere in there, 77. So he and I have stayed in touch. So he got a great band. He got Chuck Webb on bass, who's absolutely brilliant. Felton Offord on guitar. Jeff Bradfield plays tenor. Steve Duncan, who I worked with on the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra, outstanding trombone player. You got Charles Heath on drums. That guy, he gets everything right the first time. Well, everybody got everything right the first time. But when the drummer gets all the hits, man, it was fantastic. Now, Paul Mutzabaugh, you talk about a genius. This guy, he plays piano, organ. He is absolutely brilliant. I just love his playing. And all these guys are just so easy and fun to work with. We had a ball. Jim Gallaretto played the soprano and flute and some alto sax. And then we had Rich Trelise come and add some percussion tracks. Kerry Deadman, he was mostly a producer, but he did add a couple of high trumpet parts. I'm not a high trumpet player. But anyway, and all the arrangements are by Wally Minko. So I don't know. This, to me, I'm obviously excited about this album. I think this is the best thing I've done yet. All right, your turn.
Yeah, well, what we talked about before, and just for context, we kind of had a before we got into this interview and kind of laid down some groundwork. And one thing that I did bring up is that I think at this point in our history of just being alive in this country and with music and the arts is that it's so essential for people to feel some way of having a respite or an escape or to feel good. And I feel like this album is such a good representation of just putting on an album and sitting back and just letting the world go by for a little while.
Yeah, there's nothing all serious and, there's no angry, dark, sinister music. It's all optimistic. We might have talked about the early jazz, and in fact, as a tuba player, I've played in some like New Orleans jazz bands, actually many of them, and we used to play in this place in Asheville, played in the Garden, and people would walk by on the street, and you'd see an absolute cross-section of humanity, every imaginable kind of person. They would stand there and they would smile and they would nod their heads and they liked it. And to me, that's what jazz originally was and ought to be. It if it doesn't make people smile, if it doesn't make you happy, why bother? I could stay at home and be miserable. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I like to bring some joy and some happiness and some optimism into music. So that's maybe you might want to say that's part of my mission.
Well, and the one thing, too, is that you got a good mix of sounds and feelings that are going on. Talk to me a little bit about how you orchestrated all of those different styles and how it worked with the band in the session.
Well, the funny thing is, when I send Wally a little mock-up that I make, he takes it, and, what I send him is basically the tune, the chord changes, like some weak rhythm section sounds that I do with my MIDI. And then he takes it and I wouldn't say reimagines it, but he basically understands what I'm driving at. And so he's the one that makes these things. It's kind of like you take a lame picture and you put it in a fantastic picture frame and everybody say, wow, that's beautiful art. I'm not saying my tunes are necessarily lame, but what I send him is nothing like what comes back once we record it. It just sounds absolutely fantastic by the time Wally gets done with it. And then we get great musicians like this to record it. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that totally did. And I'm curious, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album and even Volume 2 when it comes out?
Smiles. Move around, dance a little. Grab your loved one, dance a little in the living room, dance on the wherever you are. Well, don't dance while you're driving in a car. Well, you could even do that a little, like from the waist up, But yeah, just get some joy from the music. Forget about all this serious stuff that, you know what, no matter no matter what's going on in the world, I'm in this particular moment right here, right now. I'll never have this again. Why should I be miserable? Why can't I be joyful? Why can't I be happy? Why can't I be enthusiastic and optimistic? That's basically what I'm driving at.
So talk to me a little bit about moving from a territory that you were obviously familiar with. You were there for a while. The way that you create, the way that you view music. Has there been any kind of influence as far as moving geographically that's happened for you?
Well, I was in New York for a couple of years working on a master's degree. That's the second time I lived in New York, and then 9/11 happened. I thought I was doing pretty well up there, but I could not withstand what happened to the job market, so I moved to North Carolina. But you know, the funny thing is, in New York, I kind of let the New York vibe affect me a little bit, and you know, without insulting anybody, which I probably will anyway. It just seems to be very serious, very cutthroat. You know, I cut my teeth in Philadelphia in the early mid '80s, and the jazz community, the brotherhood in Philadelphia was so encouraging. And now, if you sucked, man, they would get you off the stage in a hurry. But they did it in a nice way. In New York, they just tried to slice you to ribbons and make you feel bad about yourself, which you can't do that to me. I'm just going to be more determined to get better. But the kind of music that was getting played in New York was just, the word accessible comes to mind. You know, I had a friend in Philadelphia, a trombone player, and I laid a couple albums on him. He wanted to get interested in jazz. And he said, you know, I like the improvisations, but the tunes themselves, the melodies, they just don't do anything for me. And I totally understood what he was talking about. And these are Blue Note albums that I really like. But you know, if the tune itself doesn't speak to me, then, you know, the improvisations, which a lot of people think the improvisation is all that it's about in jazz. I don't know, man. To me, it's a complete thing. You know, you put on a tune and you go on a journey. It takes me someplace. To me, it's about communicating something. It's not like playing at the people. It's playing to the people, trying to communicate a message, a story. So, yeah. And then when I got to Asheville, the talent pool was more of a talent puddle compared to New York. I was around all great players. Every gig I played in New York, I was surrounded by fantastic players. So, and I did start writing more when I got to Asheville. So I think, in a way, that's been good. Now, again, I don't know if I answered your question. Did I lose the signal? Are you there?
No.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry, you did. Yeah, I know. I was just contemplating what you were saying. Totally. So, you've been talking about having more of a focus on recording now versus live. So you got volume 1 and 2. How much do all these tunes and the composing? How much comes out? Do you have other material that you're thinking about past this? Or are you stuck in the right now? What's going on right now with live shows?
Okay, with live shows, I am not motivated at this point to put a band together and hustle gigs. I did a lot of that in Asheville. That's a yeoman work. The guys who do that, my hat is off to them. I still don't know a lot of the musicians in my area, so I'm taking my time getting to know people. I really would never want to step on anybody's toes. I remember in Asheville there was a guy that came to town, and he just, what's a polite way of saying gig whore? There probably is no polite way. But he stepped on all kinds of toes and scooped gigs out from everybody, and in short order, he was very, very not well thought of. So, yeah, that's not me. Through some investing and, you know, sane financial management, I don't absolutely have to work gigs if I don't want to. I can keep producing albums for the rest of my life if I want to, which that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. I'm kind of like a jazz recluse at this point. And I'm totally okay with that. If I get called for gigs, I'll go play a gig. I hope it's an enjoyable gig.
Yeah, for sure. So is there anything else you want to talk about with this session with the players? I mean, you kind of talked a little bit about their acumen and how talented they are. I'm curious, how fast did it take for everybody to gel in the studio? How did the dialogue kind of come together? Kind of a little bit more of the nuts and bolts of the session.
Everybody had been sent parts and mock-ups from Wally of what it would sound like. Now, we changed pretty much everything on the spot. Now, by everything, we changed a lot of the roadmap stuff. But pretty much there was no rehearsal. We did one take, and we found out if we liked the way it was going, and then we always did a second take. And the second take we would implement, like, you know what, let's open up this, or let's change this solo section to something else. So, it's about as spontaneous as you can get with having charts in front of you.
So if anybody wants to get a copy of Laid Back Volume 1, I know it's streaming, but and Volume 2 will be out later. What's the best way for them to get involved? Any of your previous work, any of the good news or business, where do they go?
Well, my website, boptism.com, BOPTISM, boptism.com. If you go to the store under USBs and CDs, USBs, LPs, something like that, you can get any of my stuff digitally. There's a couple of them that are available on CD, and at the top of the digital page, there's a link for Spinny. You're familiar with that, Spinny.com or something like that? And they have hard copies of the CDs. But on my own website, I'm selling them digitally. And I see that they are going on Amazon and I think it's Apple Music. I was kind of looking at how sales are going. So people are buying this stuff. It's great. Somewhat amazing, but it's also great. Yeah.
So I will make sure to shout this from the mountaintops, put all the links in the show notes. Rich, thank you so much for coming back to Neon Jazz, taking a minute out. I love the recording. I've already played it on the show, and look forward to more down the line.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, it'll be coming out in November, Volume 2.
Right on. Sounds good.
All right, man. God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening and tuning into another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in West Virginia, Kansas City, and spots all over the globe, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Rich for coming back by the program. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.